Alright everyone, it's activism time. We start off today, link in the description, not archived actually, from Bitchute. That's the auxiliary of Bitchute actually, in which we need to talk about FISA. They're trying to renew it still, and it could lapse literally today. That is that the Foreign Intel Act, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, could lapse. And that's probably a good thing if it does. It seems like there is some bipartisan resistance to renewing it. In the procedural vote, the test procedural vote, there were Democrats and Republicans that voted against reauthorizing. In the end, it is likely we will lose this battle. But I'm calling on you all to call your senators. If you're in the United States, call your senator's office, send off an email, do whatever you have to do in order to try to convince them to vote against renewing FISA. For those that don't know, FISA is effectively the warrantless spying on American citizens. It blatantly violates the Fourth Amendment. It violates due process as well. It arguably violates the right to free expression that's generally countenanced under the First Amendment also. It has a chilling effect, and that's one of the main problems with it, even beyond the sheer unconstitutionality of spying on people when you have not actually gotten a warrant to do so at all. And the idea of the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution was that people should be secure in their persons and possessions against unreasonable searches and seizures. FISA clearly violates this. It is an unreasonable search of an individual, both person and paper potentially, for having done absolutely nothing wrong. The idea is that we think that they're going to commit a crime. We think that they're involved in terrorism. We think that based on the fact that their phone number came up when we were searching Abdul Al-Jafar over in Dubai, and we're watching him because we think that he's a terrorist or something. The fact is that this U.S. citizen clearly is involved with that. It couldn't be calling him for any other reason. Couldn't have an older phone number that was recycled and we're accidentally spying on somebody for literally no reason. This has been also criticized by the intel community itself. It's very rare that this happens within the bureaucratic system, by the way. You remember that the former head of the NSA, can't remember his name, came out, this was in the mid-2010s, and said the problem with this system is that we're sweeping up so much information we can't even sort it all, so it becomes useless. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack trying to prevent terrorism. They didn't stop the Boston Marathon bombing despite having the system in place, and arguably in that case because they were alerted to the fact that the Tsarnaev brothers were radicalized and plotting terrorism by a foreign entity, by the way, by the Chechen authorities. They didn't look into that one so much, even though they were publicly posting their support for Osama bin Laden on Facebook. Somehow they missed that one, but they're willing to sweep up your data. Effectively, any United States citizen that's contacting any foreign entity, their data is going to be swept up. And even further, and this is something that this article doesn't address. It's something that's not addressed at all, actually, by basically the entire media. Even New Tech is overlooking this. What about Five Eyes? You know, the data sharing agreement between the United States, the UK, and other entities means that other states can be dragged in so that even if FISA fails you, so even if the rubber stamping warrant-free process doesn't allow you to spy on a U.S. citizen, you can always have a foreign entity do that. And then the U.S. can supply the same spying on citizens abroad. There's no constitutional prohibition on it. Very interesting. It's a little bit of a workaround. You'll find that this happens on a regular basis. Look forward, people are worried about, well, UN troops are going to be on U.S. streets because they're not prohibited specifically from policing there. Well, in the censorship sense, I hate to tell you, but this is already a thing, unfortunately. We need to wage war against FISA's reauthorization. It could literally lapse today. All you need to do is call up your senators. It's pointless in my case because who is my senator? It's Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is a far leftoid. He can't be convinced of anything. By the way, I'm not 100% sure if he's actually on board with the FISA renewal. Hell, he'll make his first wise decision in a while if he manages to go against that. I didn't look at the voting docket for the test procedural bill that they passed through. Effectively, it's not the reauthorization of FISA, it's just sort of, how are you going to vote, basically. Unfortunately, it looks like it will pass through, but we can do whatever we can to embattle it as much as we can to try to put the kibosh to that. It is unconstitutional. The Constitution is very, very explicit with regards to people's privacy, with their right to be secure in their persons and papers against unreasonable searches and seizures. This has been widely ignored. It's sort of like when we look at gun rights, and people, they need to take this more seriously, just like many of you do gun rights. The Bruin decision came through. The Second Amendment is stark and very clear, but it's literally being explicitly ignored by a half a dozen states at the moment that are trying to ban weapons or ban magazines, totally outside of the Bruin decision, totally in opposition to the Second Amendment. It's like it's a cut and dry issue. It's very explicit. Now we have a SCOTUS case, but you're ignoring it. Explicitly ignoring it. You're basically thumbing your nose at the Supreme Court of the United States. People's privacy has generally been upheld in the courts, but the legal system is completely ignoring it. They've just gone rogue. This is a problem with bureaucracy, you'll note. And it is bureaucracy. The intel agencies that are actually utilizing this FISA system are effectively unelected authorities that are taxpayer funded. Yes, your taxes are paying for you to be spied on. Doesn't that piss you off even a little bit? I would think that it does. So Bitchute is trying to encourage its US users to call their senators or to otherwise contact them, and I'm replicating this for that reason. I'm big on Bitchute, you may have noticed. And I support the basic premise of fighting back against the reauthorization of FISA. We're not likely to win. This isn't a black-pilled moment. I mean, it's been reauthorized before. But we have a chance. It could be that it gets punted today, maybe by a vote, maybe by 2 votes or something like that. Doesn't get reauthorized, and then all hell breaks loose because they're like, oh my God, we can't spy on American citizens without a warrant anymore? Clearly, this means the next Osama bin Laden will be able to attack us more easily. Just remind him the system never worked to begin with. It was literally openly panned by the former head of the NSA. That was after the Snowden revelations. He was giving testimony. And he said, literally, we're sweeping up too much information. We don't have the capability of even sorting through it all, and so it's completely meaningless. And of course, the other NSA authorities at the time and other intel officials, they were livid at that moment, and it was really, really funny to see. We need to wage war against FISA. It's wrong. It's unconstitutional. It's literally un-American. We can call it the Un-American Act or something. Let's engage in some linguistic propaganda because at least the moniker would be fitting. That's about all. Peace out.